ladies and gentlemen, the man sitting next to me is Dylan Tereman, also known as DT, host of the DT Experience. And Dylan is hopping on the show right now. So, Dylan, how are you? How was your night out? I left before you. Break down what I missed after I left and you remained out with Will Parkinson and company.
I guess they would call them townies. There was a townie at the bar that we went to that was making her rounds, talking to multiple groups of men, including Will, myself, and the guys that we were with, and it was very interesting experience to see a crowd that was like 92% male demographic, and then there's like 3 women in the bar, and everybody's trying to talk to her, and we're all just like reading right through her. But the nightlife here, man, it's been lesser compared to the years prior, but I mean, I enjoy Mobile nightlife. I think having less people on the street this year was fun. Obviously, you network a lot less when there's less people here, but I'm having fun. My voice, you could definitely hear it in my voice. I just recorded my video, and like each day, my voice is getting more and more strained because of the alcohol and the yelling in the bar. We're sitting this close to each other, and you can't hear each other in the bar. So the throat is definitely, we got the water. We got the water today. We gotta recover. We gotta rehydrate.
Liquid IV right here.
Liquid IV, absolutely free sponsorship. But yeah, man, I'm having a blast. And unfortunately, last day, you leave today, I leave tomorrow, and that's gonna be it. But been a fun week.
And as always, the Jets remain in the center of the news cycle. We have the Duke of Defense. We have an offensive coordinator search ongoing with 5 names. Let's get your take on the Duke of Defense, Brian Duker, being hired.
If this was this is how bass backwards the New York Jets are. If Duker was the hire last year and it didn't work, you could easily pivot if you're Aaron Glenn and say, okay, we tried the first time lesser experienced defensive coordinator. I tried to run my system. It didn't really quite work. Now we can pivot to the veteran guy, not necessarily a Steve Wilkes or a Wink Martindale, but going from the inexperienced to the experienced guy, I feel like is the more normal path to do it. Where the Jets are just doing it completely backwards, and they went experience first. That went belly up after 15 weeks, and then now they're going to pivot to Brian Duker, which on paper, he's got a good resume, right? He worked with the safeties under Aaron Weaver in Miami. He worked with the safeties in Detroit with AG. So you can say he oversaw the development of Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. They're both already phenomenal players, but now they're like superstars in the NFL. One already has a really big contract. So on paper, the resume is fine for Duke, but it's like the process of which we got here, and we've talked about this numerous times. Flawed process leads to flawed results. So I guess of the options, I will take Duker over Wink Martindale or Chris Harris. Finally got his name right, but it's not really like an inspiring hire altogether.
The Duke of Defense. Now, Aaron Glenn, that means is gonna, in all likelihood, all signs point to him calling the plays. Your thoughts on what an Aaron Glenn defense will look like in 2026, and give us a feel for the style of defense, personnel-wise, you think that the Jets are now going to be counting on going forward.
Yeah, I would guess it's probably going to be more of like a 3-4 front. So you're either going to have 3 down linemen or like a 5-man front with 2 stand-up outside linebacker types. I kind of referenced the Miami Dolphins of last year before they traded Jalen Phillips, obviously, to the Eagles. But you had Phillips and Bradley Chubb standing up on the outside, and then you had your 3 interior defensive linemen. I believe it's like Kenneth Grant, Zach Sealer, and I'm blanking on the last name, but they did more 5-man fronts. So I think we'll get more of that, especially if Aaron Glenn is calling the plays. So now, like in terms of like scheme and coverage on the back end, I would assume probably more press man, maybe cover 1 type stuff. I don't necessarily think he's into like the cover 6s, which I know is like the big neutralizer for pass game. The I guess heightened pass game in today's NFL. Cover 6 is like the quarter half. You play cover 2 on one side, cover 4 on the other, and that's kind of like the neutralizer for the pass game. But I think it's probably going to be more aggressive in a good way, right? Anytime Steve Wilkes tried to get aggressive, it just really didn't work, and everybody was so predictable in terms of walked up linebackers, the overhang DB pinching down. Like we always knew who the 5th or 6th blitzer was going to be with Steve Wilkes. So hopefully we get a little bit less predictability with the defense, but I do think it's ultimately going to be a little bit more aggressive under AG, and it really has to be, because to try to run it back stylistically with what they did last year, that's the easiest way to be solid 2.0 and be gone before Halloween in 2026.
Dom C is now behind us. Hello, Dom.
Doing the DT.
I wonder if Dom was put up to that by someone. Did someone say, "Hey, Dom, go run behind them. We see you."
I'm not going to name names, but we know who it would have been.
Jerome writes in, Jake, when is your first 2027 mock draft? It's funny you ask. I have a mock draft ready for you right now. 2027 NFL draft. The New York Jets select Arch Manning, quarterback, Texas. We're marching for Arch, DT.
Yeah, I got to ask a couple prospects some questions about their quarterbacks. I asked Zane Durant, the D tackle from Penn State, about Drew Aller. Called him Big Snipe. I feel like a lot of people were asking me about Drew Aller this year specifically, but in terms of next year, I talked to Jalen Kilgore with our guy Dom, and I asked him about Lenoris Sellers, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Lenoris is going to have a big year. They got good things working down there in Columbia." So I'm excited for the quarterback group, but yeah, it seems like no matter what, the pick has to be quarterback in 2027.
Black Hockey Media says, someone mentioned it earlier, but why isn't Doug Peterson getting calls? Dude has a Super Bowl ring. He could still coach. This to me is befuddling. Maybe he just doesn't want to be an OC, but Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. He went to the playoffs in Jacksonville in his first year. The fact that no one's giving him a chance to be an offensive coordinator, a little surprising. Maybe he just doesn't want to, and we're unaware of that. But again, I think Doug Peterson than Frank Reich is my play caller. Peterson was the actual play caller on that Eagles team. It wasn't Reich.
Yeah, no, exactly. So yes, if in a vacuum, I would totally rather have Doug Peterson than Frank Reich. Does Doug Peterson currently have a job in the NFL? I'm trying to look it up on the fly. I don't think he has a job currently. So if he's been out of the league since 2024 when he was fired in Jacksonville, I mean, why wouldn't he want to be the OC? Maybe he just doesn't want to be the OC of the Jets, but yeah, I would definitely take him, who actually called the plays for that Super Bowl team, than a Frank Reich, who was the OC in title but didn't really have the play calling duties and everything like that during that Super Bowl run. So yeah, Doug Peterson would be a cool name to invoke.
Leon writes in, Anzalone's boring, but makes sense. Need a coach on the field that knows the scheme. I think Anzalone to the Jets is like one of the more obvious free agent projections we're going to see. And you know what? It makes sense. Glenn needs someone that can, be the captain of his defense, get guys lined up in the proper spot. We know that Quincy and Sherwood really struggled when they had to have the green dot in the headset and get guys in the right position. Coaching, I'm sure, is part of this. But again, Anzalone with Glenn calling the defense, there's that built-in chemistry, that built-in experience with what Glenn wants and what the player could do for the rest of the defense. I think it makes sense. They're going to probably have to overpay for an over 30 player, but if you give him a 2-year deal, I'm not going to criticize that move. I understand the thought process.
Yeah, it breaks BJF's John Simpson rule of getting a free agent over the age of 30, but I feel like it is a proper, seamless fit for Anzalone to the Jets. I will say, Dom and I talked to Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker from Texas Tech, yesterday at Media Day. And if they don't go the veteran route to, find that quarterback of the defense, I would love it to be Jacob Rodriguez. He got those guys lined up at Texas Tech, and obviously they're a very star-studded defense. They got interior defensive lineman Lee Hunter. They got the edge rushers in David Bailey and Romello Height. But yeah, I like Jacob Rodriguez's ability to communicate, get everybody lined up. He would be a good rookie option for the green dot if I was just speculating. But yeah, you can't argue with the fact that Anzalone, knowing AG, now knowing Duker, having experience in that system, yeah, for like a 1, maybe a 2-year deal, right? If you could front load the contract into 2026, have an option maybe on 2027 in case, because like the Tyron Smith thing, right? Like he just fell off a cliff and we really thought we were getting an all pro caliber player. So I don't want to say Anzalone's an all pro caliber player, but like, can we get what he was the past 2 years in Detroit? I wouldn't extend him or give him anything longer than 1 year with an option, but yeah, you can't go wrong when we just watched Jamie and Sherwood and Quincy Williams kind of, poop their pants at the second level.
It was so bad. Gangrene with a super chat. Thank you, Gangrene, for supporting the show. Will be gone by November. Jets will have 4 first-round picks. Garrett deserves to play meaningful games. Again, they signed him. I don't think that they're just going to get rid of him that easy. Now, look, things change quickly in the NFL. We know this. But the bare minimum you're getting for Garrett is 2-1s if you're dealing him. And I just don't think the Jets are going to end up trading him. I think they're going to need someone to be the face of the team. And Garrett signed the contract. He knew what he was signing up for. I don't think the Jets are going to trade him. And again, I could be wrong because I've been wrong plenty of times talking about things I think the Jets should do or will do, and then the opposite happens. But I don't think Garrett will be traded. What say you?
Yeah, they made him untradeable at the deadline this past year, and we saw what happened with Sauce Gardner, right? The contract allowed for Darren Muji and the Jets to move off of him before the money really affected, future dollars and cents on this team. So now that we're an extra year into the Garrett Wilson contract, I would assume that language is not as conducive to try to trade him away. Now, can you get an offer of 2-1s plus like they got for Sauce Gardner? And then you have to obviously, debate internally if it's worth it. But like you said, he's the face of the franchise. He's the guy that, despite everything, he really goes to bat for this team on social media when people are talking smack about the Jets and taking their little pot shots. Garrett Wilson is usually the one, right? We go back to the Stephen A. Smith stuff, and he was, firing back at Stephen A. So to get rid of a player like that would obviously stink, but to have him, he's going to be 27 at the end of next season and he's experienced absolutely no winning. It's really unfortunate for him. So I don't think it'll happen like projecting a trade, but if it ultimately happened because the team starts 1-6 at the deadline and they want to do the Sauce Quinnen thing all over again, I wouldn't be like entirely surprised. My only thing is, it felt like they were trying to make a philosophical shift to focusing on offense first after being a defensive first team for so many years throughout this playoff drought. So I would hate to see Garrett go. He's one of the few Jets that's like really like you can get behind him and root for him left on this roster. So I would project no trade, but wouldn't be surprised if it ultimately happened.
If he were to be dealt, at least 2-1s and then some, right?
Yeah, because they were denying offers of supposedly 2-1s or the equivalent of 2-1s at the trade deadline from what the reporting was, and then they made him untradeable. So yeah, if you get blown away by an offer, you'd probably have to do it. But yeah, if you got 2 first-round picks, then you have 4 first-round picks in 2027, you have 2 in 2028. I mean, you have a crazy war chest of assets. It's just, can we trust the guys to make those picks?
Muji, I will say, if you want to pause it from being down here this week, in all my conversations about the Jets with people, no one has anything negative to say about Darren Muji, which I think is encouraging because, again, he's the one in charge of these picks ultimately. And if he could at least just hit on some of these picks, the more I talk to people, the more I think there is a path where Muji stays and Glenn's gone if they don't win games next year.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And I think and it's not even a negative on Muji, it's actually kind of a positive for the Jets, is that they would have said maybe Muji was a year too early from getting the general manager job. But I mean, we've seen it with coaches. You take a guy a year too early and it works out well, as opposed to, the same old Jets thing where they just kind of take the next guy in line. So, I mean, I'm cool with it, but I also just think that if it's that bad again, like how good does the draft need to be versus how bad does the coaching need to be for both of them, have different fates. I think they're still locked at the hip at this current moment. But yeah, if Muji hits it out of the park with the draft and Aaron Glenn and the guys just can't coach them up, then obviously there's a big discrepancy there and we can have the conversation. But I think ultimately they came in together. They should probably go together and you reset the timelines if and when that day comes.
ISU says making sure we retain Muji is the path for hiring KOC when he shakes free. We really need JJ McCarthy just to be bad so the Jets can get Kevin O'Connell. That's the key.
That and unfortunately Brian Flores going back to, be the head coach of the defense for the Vikings. That's also going to be more helpful for KOC saving his job, because they were like 8-9 or 9-8 this year with terrible offensive play from their quarterback, but the defense really held them in the season. So I was really hoping Brian Flores would take a head coaching job, just because that lessens the talent in the coaching staff in Minnesota. And it's like, damn, KOC lost his guy in Flores. Now he could be out of a job the next season. So yeah, you got to hope that JJ McCarthy continues being 9, which is closer to Zach Wilson and Justin Fields than it is to Sam Darnold, who they had in the building 2 years ago. So yeah, we'll keep the KOC dream alive, but there's going to be a coach that shakes free next year that nobody's really talking about at this point. Like, somebody down here to me floated out Kyle Shanahan, and I'm like, no way Kyle's going to get fired. And they're like, think about it, man. Like, he just hasn't gotten over the hump in San Francisco lately. And it's like, yeah, if he was available, obviously the Jets wouldn't be able to get him, but we just never know who the names are going to be 12 months from now.
I do think that if the Jets could have a good draft, add some talent here, all of a sudden Muji would put together 2 good drafts. You have the 3 ones. They might say, let's keep them and let's find a head coach that could work with him. And that all could go out the window if they hire like a Tomlin who says, I want my own GM. I want my own personnel guy. But again, Joe Shane, no one thought he'd stick around with the Giants. And he's still surviving with John Harbaugh being brought in. So
the half measure of all half measures with the Giants.
You just never know. At least like Shane should have been gone because his resume is brutal. The draft selections have not panned out. Free agent signings bad. So it's like, but we only have 1 year of sample size with Muji, and it's been mixed results. So we'll learn a lot more now with 4 picks in the top 44.
With Joe Shane specifically, do you credit him for the Jackson Dart selection in the draft, or would we credit Brian Daboll for coaching him up and having him almost ready to be the QB1 coming out of camp in August?
Daboll, I think, because Daboll was like, that's the guy, and apparently he wanted to take him at 3. He had that much conviction in Dart, and you give Shane credit for orchestrating the trade, but again, like that's the bare minimum of a GM's responsibility to know how to navigate the draft board and move up and get a guy. Like that's like the bare, like again, like that's minimum what any GM who gets a job of one of 32 should be able to call their teams and wheel and deal.
Exactly.
I think Daboll gets more credit for Dart.
Mm-hmm. And now they're looking at Charlie Weiss Jr., his coach at Ole Miss, obviously son of Charlie Weiss. So that would be a cool pairing if they were able to get that for him in the building, because I think Jackson Dart is very talented. As long as he can stay out of the blue medical tent, he'll be all right.
This one is from Big Country, who writes in, I'm still listening every day, hoping you guys say, breaking news, Aaron Glenn fired. We all got our wishes. All right, I'll say it. Breaking news, Aaron Glenn fired. Doesn't mean it's true. Yeah. You just wanted me to say that.
Martini Jake spreading the misinformation.
That lychee, or not lychee, how about that that cucumber themed martini I had at dinner last night?
They look cool, man. They look cool. Dinner was great last night. Some Wagyu cheeks for those that are food connoisseurs.
And then I didn't have Wagyu cheeks. It was a cucumber martini. It was excellent.
He was Martini Jake last night.
It was fantastic.
And he was wearing a hat in a nice restaurant. I was too, but just like our guy, Nate Hackett.
I don't think it was that nice of a restaurant.
There was multiple people.
Yeah, it was very good. Just like the quote unquote steakhouse who went to. I'm like, this is a bar. This is not a steakhouse.
Yeah. Well, most of it is all like bar restaurant, emphasis on the bar.
Will Parkinson got the duck last night.
That was good.
Jay Quest in the house. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Jay Quest is our resident bootlicker.
Who wanna lick my boots?
That's Jay Quest wearing the Bart Scott Jets jersey in that video. Jay Quest says, who can you see the Jets getting a QB coach if Reich is the OC? Is it fair to say the QB coach is just as important? I would see if Gary Dell is available. Well, I think the OC is way more important. I think the QB coach with the Jets was important because you hired a first-time offensive coordinator, and they said that they were going to, quote, coach up Justin Fields. So we're thinking, oh, okay, like they really believe in their ability to get the most out of him. Then you looked at who the quarterback coach was, and it's a guy who's barely had experience coaching quarterbacks and is a former running back. It's not like he's a former quarterback that can kind of like be, hey, I used to do this. I used to see it like this. Like Charles London has never taken a drop back in a collegiate or professional setting as a quarterback.
Yeah, I was an advocate of going the former quarterback route, which technically Frank Reich is, right? He started 7 games for the Jets in their 1-15 1996 season. So technically you would, check that box as a former quarterback coaching up your quarterbacks. But at the same time, I would probably rather a younger guy. Like there's guys like Scott Tolzien, Sean Mannion, Davis Webb, former quarterbacks that are like still in their 30s and still more innovative guys than Frank Reich. But if we were going to go like an old head route, and maybe Frank Reich could help with this just based on his connections and his time in the league, I've been a huge advocate of Bill Musgrave, currently with the Cleveland Browns quarterbacks coach. He's been there for the last 3 seasons, but obviously all the turnover that they have there, does Monken want to retain him? I don't know, but he has 21 years experience in the league, 19 as an OC or quarterbacks coach. He oversaw 3 Pro Bowl quarterbacks in his tenure, including Derek Carr. And I mean, I absolutely hate Derek Carr. So the fact that he can even make him like a playable person in the NFL was definitely a good mark on Bill Musgrave. But I think he's got the short end of the stick in Cleveland right now, having to be forced upon, Dylan Gabriel and Shadur Sanders and that whole mess of a quarterback room there. So I would love a Bill Musgrave if we're going to go like the old head route, but give me an innovative guy who, like, I'm not saying Kurt Benkert, but like a young quarterback who can help the development of a 22, 23-year-old quarterback. I feel like that would go a lot further to help the Jets and benefit their success.
No doubt. Tom Roseman in the house. He gifted a channel membership. Let's go, Tom.
I hug him every day. I hug him every day.
Let me ask Dom C if he wants a Woody Johnson hug. Dom, would you want a hug from Woody Johnson? Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. Dom C, he's in for the hug. Fantastic. He likes a warm hug. Says he's like Olaf. Love that. Veteran Jetvet says, Jake and DT, what do you guys think about the Jets trying to trade for CJ Stroud? Reich loved him, and you might be able to get Stroud for 2 1s with his stock down. 1, I don't think the Texans are going to trade Stroud. And 2, I don't want CJ Stroud. I know plenty of people who know what's really going on with the Texans and all the stuff behind the scenes. I don't think Stroud can handle playing in New York based on my conversations with people here that are associated with the Texans. I think Stroud is very online. I think he cares a lot about what people think. I think he's got some immaturity issues based on some of my conversations this week with people who know the Texans really well. I don't think it'd be a good fit in New York. I would not trade 2 first-round picks for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, that's a tough one. In a vacuum, CJ Stroud would be an upgrade, obviously, over what we have at quarterback. But when you add in all the outside noise variables and elements to the CJ Stroud thing, he just looks like a mentally broken quarterback. And I feel like if you are the Jets and you're trying to escape hell, right? That's been the narrative. We're just trying to get out of hell. We're not even trying to, go from worst to first in the AFC East. We're just trying to be competitive in some degree. I feel like a CJ Stroud to me is not like, I would rather have Kyler Murray, and then Kyler Murray comes with a ton of baggage, but he is not a broken quarterback in terms of his mentality. I feel like CJ Stroud, because of that defense in Houston, like, he's not, like he says, he doesn't have to be Superman, but it's like, dude, there's got to be moments where you need to be Superman. In that Pittsburgh, or the Patriots game specifically, he was the furthest thing from Superman in that game. That pick 6 was ugly from CJ Stroud. So they do have to make a decision on his 5th-year option this year. They'll pick it up because that's what makes sense financially for the Texans. But I don't know if I would trade 2 1s. Now, if the price was lower, where it was like 1 first-round pick and like a second pick, I would probably do a 1 and a 2. But again, like, talent alone, we would do the trade. But everything all encompassing, it makes it very hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel for CJ Stroud in New York.
This is a great super chat here for so many different reasons. Matt Dawkins in the house, $20 super chat, 5 raffle entries. Hit it, Lowski. What do you guys think about Joe Lombardi as OC? Maybe AG flies in Frank Reich to Florham Park and tells him that he's pivoting since that's his favorite thing to do. See Rogers and Wink Martindale. That's a great line. As far as Joe Lombardi, I mean, there is an overlap with Glenn and Lombardi with the Saints, and Muji overlapped with him in Denver. So I was surprised, at least initially here, he was not one of the 5 names that the Jets announced yesterday they spoke to for their OC opening. DT, what are your thoughts on that?
I would take a Joe Lombardi, 100%. There's the obvious crossover, like you just mentioned. I thought that he probably didn't need to be fired out of Denver, but when you couple that with the domino effect of Davis Webb potentially becoming the OC in Denver instead of him getting poached and going somewhere else, it would make sense for the Jets to add him to the list. And like we saw with Duker, he wasn't part of the first 8, and then they got a random virtual interview and got the job. So could they do the same thing with a Joe Lombardi? I think that would be cool. But yeah, I think of all the names, he's more inspiring to me than Greg Roman, right? Like, Greg Roman, like, come on, man. We talked about it last night at dinner. Like, that would have been the perfect OC candidate
last year
for Justin Fields, right? If you want a running style quarterback, it's like Tanner Engstrand drop back pass playing with timing, and then you go get Justin Fields. So Greg Roman to me is a little uninspiring. Maybe Lunda Wells would be the guy that I like the most out of these guys on the list. Daryl Bevell, please. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing? So, yeah, I would take Joe Lombardi in a heartbeat.
Bucks Fanatic has gifted 5 channel memberships. You know what that means. Cover your ears. Not safe for work. Here's Angry Todd Bowles.
It's inexcusable. You don't make excuses. You gotta fucking care enough where the shit hurts. You gotta fucking care enough where the shit hurts. It gotta fucking mean something to you. It's more than a job. It's your fucking livelihood. How well do you know your job? How well can you do your job? Well, you can't sugarcoat that shit. It was in the fucking excusable, and there's no fucking answer for it. There's no excuse for it. That's what you tell them in the locker room. Look in the fucking mirror.
Thank you, Todd. And thank you, Bucks Fanatic. Comments, questions, super chats. DT hanging out with us here live from the Airbnb. Final day of Senior Bowl practices gets underway at 1:30 local time. DT, who has been the biggest winner, in your opinion, through the first 2 days of the Senior Bowl? You can only say one player. The biggest winner through 2 days is who?
Ooh, that's a really, really hard question. Can I give an offense and a defense?
Fine.
All right. Offensively, I think it's got to be Ted Hurst from Georgia State. Certainly doing his thing on the one-on-ones. Completely off my radar. Had no idea who he was coming into the event, and I love that aspect of the Senior Bowl because you can't watch all 300 guys that get the invites down to Mobile. So I would say Ted Hurst, the wide receiver from Georgia State. Defensively, that's a tough one. I think Derek Moore from Michigan. He had the viral rep against Markel Bell, the tackle from Miami, and then he continued having a really good day in the team periods and the one-on-ones yesterday. I tried to focus more on O-line, D-line yesterday, but I would say the Michigan guy. But that's a tough one when I can only pick one guy.
The Michigan guy, yeah. To me, and obviously I haven't seen all the practices because the Jets have prevented me from doing that with all the breaking news. Jacob Rodriguez, I've been really impressed with watching him. Dom C had a great interview with Jacob Martinez. So here's what I'm going to do right now because it just came up on my timeline here. 8 minutes ago, Dom C posted it, and he changed his Twitter handle. Finally, baby. Everyone go follow Dom right now. Let's prove the magic of social media. At DC_NFL Draft is Dom C's Twitter handle. If you want to follow along, I just put the link in the chat. But let's right now play a portion of Dom's outstanding interview with Jacob Rodriguez, who I think could be in play for the Jets. He is a linebacker out of Texas Tech. So he got a lot of Heisman votes this year for how good he was with Texas Tech. Let's give Dom C some love here for an outstanding interview with the Texas Tech LB. Here we go. Let's listen in.
Jets fans, what's happening? Dom C here with Jets X Factor, able to grab Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez. Jacob, man, congratulations on being here. I know all that, the whirlwind of getting here, probably from Texas to here, has been crazy. Like everyone traveling. How's it been so far? What's your week been like? Yeah, give it all to me, man.
Yeah, it's been great. I think I love that Southern hospitality. Everybody here in Mobile has been super accepting and super appreciative that we're here, and yeah, I'm just thankful to be here, thankful to play football, and ready to go. Had a good day one yesterday, and so we're looking to have safe and healthy practices moving forward.
Absolutely, and the linebackers on both teams have been on fire, just firing off the ball. Talk to me about this past year for you. Not to say that you came out of nowhere, but your name kind of rose right up the ranks, and when everyone was talking that nationwide about the best linebackers in the country, what changed for you this year at Texas Tech, and what what can you take away from this past season that you can bring with you to the next level?
Yeah, I think we had a lot of team success. I think that helps anybody individually is when you succeed as a team and you play well together. And we had a new DC this year, and so with his leadership and everything that we did on schematically on that side of the ball, I think we played good defense, played good sound defense. We ran around with our hair on fire, and so that's kind of how you got to go about your business. And so yeah, it was a fun year. It was great, and I was really appreciative for it.
Talk to me about your skill set. What kind of defense do you think you fit best in?
Gosh, any defense. I feel like I can move around and play.
Mike playing downhill. You want to, you want to scrape outside. What's your strong point?
Yeah, I feel like I can play all of it. I can play Mike. I can play Will. I can play Sam. I can play downhill, single gap, single backer. But I can also scrape and overlap, and I can play one coverage. I think I can do a lot of good things in a lot of different systems.
A couple more questions, and I'll let you go. Talk to me about the coaching so far. What has struck you different from what you had over at Texas Tech?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a different experience. Learning a playbook, and in a week and going out there and playing. You know, they keep it real vanilla for us, and you know, there's a lot of overlap, but it's a lot of different verbiage, and so it's fun. It's good. It's nice to, you know, meet other guys around the country and play with them, and but yeah, it's been good on the defensive side, and you know, their coaching styles are, you know, so different, but they're just as effective, and so yeah, Kato's doing a really good job with us in our inside spot, and so it's been a lot of fun.
Self-scout for me, what's the one thing you want to improve on from today up until draft day in April?
Yeah, I think just, you know, showing teams I can, you know, get in and off blocks. I think, you know, working around big offensive linemen, because, you know, they're going to be bigger, faster, stronger, better feet, better hands, better technique. I think that's not something you see all the time, you know, in college, and so that's something I want to see from an inside backer.
You got any teammates here with you today?
Yeah, I do. I have Melo Height, one of our edges. We got Lee Hunter, who's a Mobile guy, so he's back here, and then we got two receivers here, Reggie Virgil and Caleb Douglas.
Talk to me about the defensive guys. Give them some love in front of the camera.
Yeah, Lee Hunter,
big boy,
man, big guy, moves fast, really good with his hands, really good with his feet. Quickest first step I've ever seen, and, you know, really good, really electric guy. And then, you know, those two offensive guys too are they can go.
Yeah. You ever been to the Northeast?
Northeast, I have. Yeah.
Been to New York?
I have. Yes, sir.
Listen, Jets have a spot there in that linebacker room where I know you would fit well. Regardless if you end up there, I know you're going to be successful. I know you're going to hear your name called early in April. And we wish you nothing but health and success the whole way. Enjoy the process, man.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Good stuff there with Jacob Rodriguez from our guy Dom C. Last chance to get in here. We got the raffle for the Jets jersey of your choosing. Again, we did our weekly raffle on Tuesday, so for those who have missed the last few shows, here are the top prizes for next week's raffle. Joe Klecko signed jersey, CJ Mosley signed jersey, Garrett Wilson signed helmet as our top prize. Comments, questions, your super chats to wrap. Hit the like button if you guys have not done so already. We still have a ton of you tuned in live right now. There's 450 plus viewers, over 177 likes as well. Nate had a super chat asking about Jacob Rodriguez and whether or not he is the right size for the scheme that the Jets could be running now with Aaron Glenn. DT, give us your take on that.
Well, I just cheated a little bit while we were watching that clip, and I had to ask Dom if his size would match up, and he kind of confirmed what I thought. Maybe he's not a Mike backer. You got to put him next to a guy who is going to call the plays and be the communicator of the defense. So, like Dom was just saying, if you want to take a third or fourth round swing on Jacob Rodriguez, you're probably not signing an Anzalone to do that and doubling up as well. But could they go with another like a C tier linebacker in free agency and then get Jacob Rodriguez? Possibly. Would I want them to completely revamp the room at linebacker? I wouldn't be opposed to it. I feel like Jamie Sherwood didn't do enough in his first year of the contract to, you know, warrant, you know, guaranteed starter spot in year two, and maybe they got to get a little cute and creative with how they do things. But yeah, I would like Jacob Rodriguez on the Jets. It's just a fit would be a little bit tougher.
Super chats, cut the line. Thank you to Nate for that one. We got another $2 one here from Bino. DT, thoughts on Lander Barton?
I got nothing on Lander Barton. I know Dom was talking about him a little bit earlier this week, but I truly got no notes. He hasn't stood out to me enough in what I've been watching at practice to really give you anything other than just some made-up fluff that I'm pulling out of thin air, and I'm not going to do that.
Made-up fluff. Just give us every draft cliche for the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's see what we have here. Yo, Holmes, no more small non-Mike LBs, please. Well, I would imagine that's going to go away. Quincy's not going to be re-signed. They're probably stuck with Sherwood. We're talking about Anzalone being a free agent target. I think the linebacker room's going to look a lot different.
I would take a big swing at Devin Lloyd, and if I couldn't get Devin Lloyd, I would try to get Quay Walker from the Packers. Those would be the two guys at linebacker I would target. Again, I'm not even sure if they're a seamless fit for what this defense wants to do, but just in terms of talent alone, I would be really impressed if they could get a Walker or a Lloyd in free agency.
Dom, what are you heating up in the microwave right now? What are we cooking? Thai food for Dom. Hey.
Love it.
Love it. All right. We're going to do the raffle here shortly. Last chance to get in. DT, other takeaways from the Senior Bowl. Give us some guys that stood out. Go through your notes, your copious note taker. Look at this notepad, everyone. I mean, look at this thing. Notes beyond notes galore on everything happening the last couple of days. What do we need to know?
Yeah, so sneak peek. This is my green notebook is 3 years worth of Senior Bowl notes from 2024, 25, and 26. I try to keep it all organized in the same thing. Nadeem Turner, the defensive end from Western Michigan, he was living in the backfield yesterday. I really thought he was impressive. Both the Penn State D linemen, Zane Bryant, the defensive tackle, one of my ass and legs candidates that I talked about on my channel on Tuesday, he was in the backfield as well. Danny Dennis Sutton, the edge rusher from Penn State, I thought he had a really good first step. TJ Parker's really been impressing me, and his film isn't great. Dom and I keep talking about how the film in 25 wasn't great, but it feels like he's performing better than expectations down here in Mobile, so I wanted to give him a shout out. Josh Cameron, the wide receiver from Baylor, had a really good high point catch yesterday in practice that I thought was cool. Katron Allen from Penn State, he's really showing his versatility as a runner, a pass protector, and a pass catcher. So really impressed with Katron Allen. And then Tyron Montgomery, the John Carroll wide receiver. Jake, if I gave you 10 guesses to know what state John Carroll University is, would we be able to get it?
It'd be tough. It'd be tough. I had to Google where it was, so now I know.
Oh, you did? So you know?
But I didn't know originally. I had no idea.
All
It's
right.
in Ohio, for those who don't know.
I was going to say, is it east or west of the Mississippi? I was
Yeah.
going to try to guess, but Ohio. I would have never guessed Ohio.
I finally had to Google it because I was like, where the heck is John Carroll? And
Yeah.
surprisingly, John Carroll has produced a lot of NFL people, but it's coaches and GMs. I know Nick Caserio, the Texans GM, is a John Carroll alum. Frank Ross, who's the Texans special teams coordinator, he's a John Carroll alum, and all his records were broken because he was a receiver by the player you're talking about right now.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. Yeah, I never would have guessed Ohio, though. But a newcomer to Mobile yesterday, Darrell Jackson Jr., the defensive lineman from Florida State, immediately came in and had the biggest ooh and ah moment of the offense-defensive one-on-one drill. So I thought it's cool when you see the latecomers. He came from Shrine Bowl, so he just came off a week of practice and the game in Shrine, and then he moved immediately into the Senior Bowl practice. I love to see those guys compete. Marte Mapu was one of the guys from Sacramento State last year that did that. So I was really impressed with what Jackson did yesterday. And then my guy, Keelan Rutledge, the center with guard versatility from Georgia Tech. Dom and I got to talk to him at Media Day yesterday in the morning, and I come away really impressed. Like, could he be the competition for Josh Myers, but could he also be that swing guard in case Tippmann or Simpson or AVT or whatever they do at guard, if that person goes down, as like a really good insurance policy? And I was asked about Sam Heck, the offensive lineman from K-State. He had a good one-on-one pass pro rep. I forget who it was against, and I try to keep notes on who it was against, but I thought Sam Heck did well as an interior player yesterday. So a ton more standouts on the trenches yesterday. My first focus on Tuesday was quarterbacks. My focus today will be quarterbacks, so I'll get more wide receiver cornerback notes just because of that. But yesterday the focus was trench play, and I came away really impressed with a lot of those guys.
Love it. Great breakdown there. It's going to be interesting to see how the quarterbacks continue to look today, because the quarterback play yesterday I thought was better than day one, which makes sense, guys. Picking up on the scheme, a little more comfortable with the playmakers they're throwing the ball to, all that. Nussmeier's the name to watch, I think, because he's a guy that, again, a year ago was thought to be this consensus first-round pick, did not have a good year, got hurt at LSU, all that happened with the coach being fired. He's the son of a coach. He's a guy that I think is definitively in play for the Jets with maybe as early as their second-round picks.
Yeah, that was the hope with Nussmeier, was hopefully he could elevate himself up into that top 50, maybe top 75 range. I don't know if I've seen it fully from him. If I had to pick one quarterback that I feel like has shown me the most throughout the 2 days of practice, it'd be Taylon Green from Arkansas. I love his physical attributes, his ability to run, and he's got such long legs. This dude's like, he's taking 4-yard strides when he's running full speed down the field. So I would say Taylon Green is the quarterback that stuck out to me the most. But yeah, can Nussmeier have a really good third day and a really good practice game on Saturday and elevate the stock? I think so. But unfortunately, the quarterback's just not entirely impressive to me.
Oregon Jets wants to know, does DT provide a detailed breakdown how to bootlick properly? Sound techniques are imperative.
Yeah, I don't want to give away inside secrets, but yeah, we're good at that. Leather all in between my teeth. I floss 4 times a day to get the leather out of my mouth.
Who wanna lick my boots?
The bootlickers assembling.
Everybody's a bootlicker, whether it's AG, Woody, anybody.
The craziest was when Jayquest yesterday wrote that the Tanner Engstrand debacle was the first time he started to loosen his grip on the rope. You lose Jayquest, that's like when Cronkite lost the nation.
Are you holding on to the rope with Woody? Are you just letting go of the AG rope, Jayquest? I would say I'm completely gone off the Woody rope holding.
Thinking is overrated.
And I feel like this kind of just reeks of Woody all over it. So yeah, I don't blame anybody for letting go of the rope.
Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready for an Asmaniac raffle? Dylan, if you were to win a jersey, which player would you pick? Namath, Klecko, Martin, Corbett, Revis, Mangold, or Keyshawn Johnson?
Well, I'm glad that you picked all former Jets that no longer play, because the 2 jerseys I won from your show this year, do you remember?
Yeah, I know you wanted Justin Fields. Oh, you want Fields and Sauce.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah, 0 for 2. And I had the option to pick Garrett. And I was like, no, let me go Sauce. I think that would be cool. A white number 1 Sauce jersey. I thought that would be great. Should have went with the G5. But if I had to pick of any of those guys, I would have to go back and get a new Wayne Corbett jersey. I have a Curtis Martin jersey that's actually autographed. It doesn't have the COA attached to it, so it's really kind of useless. But I do have an autographed Curtis Martin. Curtis is my middle name, so I have a bit of a
Dylan
a bias.
Curtis Tereman.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, I got a little bit of a bias towards our guy CM, but I would probably go Wayne Corbett. Somebody said I look like Wayne Corbett in one of your chats, which I think is crazy and probably a little inaccurate. But the chiseled jawline definitely gives Wayne vibes.
DT, any final thoughts? Plug your channel and plug all the content that you have coming for every Jet fan out there who's starving for more content.
Yeah, absolutely. Just Dylan Tereman, as you see it on the screen, that is the YouTube channel. We have the flagship program, the Dylan Tereman Football Show, which, by the way, having my media credentials say Dylan Tereman Football Show on it, nothing better, man.
The Dylan Tereman Football Experience.
Yeah,
the DT
yeah,
Experience.
that's what you love to call it. So, yeah, the flagship show, the Dylan Tereman Football Show. We also have Draft Talk with DT. I have 2 Senior Bowl recaps on the feed, which you can also check out on the Believe in Jets audio-only podcast feed, BLEAV. Believe in Jets, that is the new audio-only format for most of my shows. And we'll be doing, pre-recorded and live shows all this weekend, breaking down everything we saw at Senior Bowl. So Dylan Tereman on YouTube, I certainly appreciate it. We are 4 away from 1,500 subscribers. So by the time I open the app on YouTube Studio, if we had 1,500, I will know that it's all because of the great Asmaniacs in the community.
DT had quite the experience last night, according to veteran Jet fans, saying some chick in Mobile had the DT experience.
Dude, the bar that we went to afterward, like I started talking about, that the one girl, she was really trying to experience something. It might not have been DT specifically, but as soon as she mentioned she was a divorcee with a 3-year-old kid, everybody kind of turned around and walked away.
Calm your freaky down.
Incredible. Coming up on YouTube, the other guy in this Airbnb will be going live. Our guy Dom C will be joining Nick Shine on Nick's YouTube channel. So tune into that if you guys want more coverage from Mobile and more conversation about the Jets. Thank you to Dylan. Thank you to Dom for his cameo on this show. Of course, thank you to Matt O'Leary for joining us for the first hour of the show, as he always does on Thursdays. If there's breaking news, we'll be back this afternoon. If not, since we'll be out at practice, you'll probably get some pre-recorded content airing on the channel. So keep that in mind if you're looking for more. And, of course, we'll be back at it tomorrow morning. Robbie Sabo will join me at 10 a.m., get his thoughts on what has been, of course, a chaotic week for the New York Jets. But for DT, I'm Jake Asman saying thanks again for watching, and I leave you all with one clip that I feel needs to be played. Go Jets.
I'm just like moving and grooving.
Get your football.
Oh, man,
Let's
Jay,
work on ball
you gotta
security.
get-
We cannot have any fumbles.
Ball security, Jay.
Yep. Secure your balls.
This is the ball.
If you hold it like that, it's going to get knocked out. Protect it.
Like this.
High and tight. Yep.
So this is my football right here going in the toilet.
What? No. Ball security, man. High and tight. That's why we keep losing. The whole point of this exercise is to manifest change. We're trying to get a win.
Scatterboo time. Giants
No,
are
it's
tough
not
to-
scatterboo time. You just put the ball in the toilet. Flush your toilet. Let's go.
Is it going? It's not. Is it going down? Oh, damn it! Smell that toilet water?
Oh, good God, man. I'll tell you what, if the Jets do win, Sean, you're calling in every week and you're putting the football right back in the toilet.
Oh, hi. Jake wants me to ask you to click on the like button.
That's right, Lane. And if they don't subscribe to the Jake Asman Show, this team may never win another game. Let's go, Jets.